Social media is going wild because President Joe Biden is an elder man and had an elder moment. Here it is.
Between China and the United States. As a matter of fact, I think it's less likely to cause that kind of conflict. Anyway, I just think that there are other things on leaders' minds, and they respond to what's needed at the time. And look, nobody likes having celebrated international meetings if you don't know what you want at the meeting, if you don't have a game plan. He may have a game plan. He just hasn't shared it with me. But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
Damn right. Man comes to the meeting, doesn't know what he wants. I'm jet lagged. I had to fly from America all the way over here. It's time for me to go to bed. We'll do this tomorrow. There's more. Here it is.
Yeah, we talked about at the conference overall. We talked about stability. We talked about making sure that the third world, the Southern Hemisphere had access to change it, had access. It wasn't confrontational at all. You can understand.
Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. I've raised it with every person I've met with. Thank you.
President Biden walking off the stage there in Hanoi, Vietnam after a major international swing. He met.
That's called an executive staff member. Now, why did the staff member stop the press conference? Why was the music on cue? Well, that's because of the advance team. The advance team goes before the president and says, if the president says something racist like third world nation, this is what needs to happen immediately. That staff member should have been the executive staff member for this politician.
Senator, you're up for election in 3 short years. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you.
That's okay. What are your thoughts on running for re-election in 2026?
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator Benny.
Okay.
Yeah. Biden is 80. Trump 77. McConnell, we don't know. It's maybe a vampire. The bottom line is everyone can agree all of them are probably way too up in age to do that job successfully with mental cognitive decline. I've said from day one, this is not about age for me. This is about the cognition, the ability to analyze, critically think about very complex problems, having the energy and the stamina to wake up at 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning to take care of something really important, go back to sleep and still wake up in the morning with all of your cognition. It is not easy. It's not an easy job for a young individual, not an easy job for a healthy person, much less an individual who may be experiencing some level of cognitive decline. Now let's say this about President Biden to put it in proper context. He rambles, yes, but he's always rambled. He stutters, well, he has a speech impediment. He doesn't talk about it much, but he does. Talked about it on record one time before. But the question that looms with him should also loom with Trump. They are not that far apart in age. And Donald Trump, who has a steady diet of Coca-Cola and Big Macs, I'm sure that does not help his neuronic situation in his mind. But he's charismatic. He says things that are so extreme that there's a base inside of the Republican Party who simply loves it. All right, let me do it this way. Let me give you the background. I'll also give you updates as to Biden's polling numbers not looking very good among Democratic voters. Amid rising concerns among voters about his age, President Joe Biden wrapped up his post-G20 summit presser on Sunday night by telling reporters he was going to bed. That was actually understandable. Following an overseas trip that took him to India and Vietnam, the president took questions from reporters revolving around politics and other topics such as climate change. His meeting with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping's decision to skip the G20 amid increasing tensions with the US. With the local time after 9:30 p.m. and Biden having spent several long days in Asia, the president attempted to end the press conference with a pronouncement to the press corps. Quote, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed, he told reporters. To his credit, Biden quickly came back on stage and engaged with the press for another minute, but the Sleepy Joe narrative had already taken hold on Fox News. He was rambling, near incoherent at some points, and then ended the press conference saying he wanted to go to sleep. That is what one of the anchors said, McDowell, moments after the news conference concluded. That was not a proper contextualization, but it's Fox News. A majority of likely Democratic voters, this is the real news. A majority of likely Democratic voters said the party should nominate someone other than Joe Biden for president next year. That's according to a poll released on Thursday. 2/3 of Democratic and Democratic-leaning registered voters surveyed by CNN and SSRS from 25 to 31st of August said they would prefer someone other than Biden. Among those voters, 18% specified another candidate, but the overwhelming majority, 82%, said, quote, they just want to see someone besides the current president. Among declared Democratic candidates, however, Biden is seen as the best positioned, however, to beat the clear Republican favorite, Donald Trump, CNN said. Other contenders include Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist and self-help author, Marianne Williamson, whom we had on the show before. She also ran in 2020. Most observers say the US economy is strong and note legislative successes for Biden, including the passage of the ambitious infrastructure and domestic spending packages. Last year's midterms, messaging about Republican extremism, particularly on the abortion and voting rights issues, helped Democrats avoid the kind of heavy losses usually suffered by a president's party. Polling now shows voters are split on partisan lines when it comes to the merits of otherwise a likely impeachment effort driven by far-right House Republicans over business deals involving the president's son, Hunter Biden. But Biden's own poll numbers remain low. In the new poll from CNN and SSRS, the president's approval rating was just 39%. Nearly 6% of respondents said they thought Biden's policies had made economic conditions worse, while 76% said they were seriously considering that at 80, the president was too old to serve a full term if reelected. That echoed other recent polls, including a survey conducted during roughly the same period and released on Tuesday by the Wall Street Journal. In that poll, 73% of voters said Biden was, quote, too old to run for president. You know the hypocrisy in the statement he's too old to run for president Y'all gave him the job in the first place. He's president because we elected him knowing his age and knowing the term of the presidency and also the term of reelection. So he's there now. He's there. All of them are up in age, every single one of them. I do recommend a passing of the torch so that those who are up and coming, who have not been purchased by the same corporate interest as those who are established, can make a difference for real, everyday, hardworking people. David, thoughts here?
Well, I agree with you. I think there should be a passing of the torch. I wish Joe Biden would say he's not running for re-election. But and the fact of the matter is, as my late father used to say, getting old is not for the faint of heart. And Joe Biden's mental acuity, his cognition, whether it's getting worse or about the same, it's hard to know. But the one thing we do know is that Fox News is not the fair arbiter of any of this. And I'm so glad you mentioned them with the Sleepy Joe narrative, because if you looked at their White House correspondent who was in Vietnam before the news conference, Peter Doocy said, yeah, the president's probably tired. He has spent several hours working at this on East Coast time. It's like it's an all-nighter. He probably has jet lag. And then after the news conference, once Joe Biden talks about going to bed, and the right wing goes crazy over all this, of course, Fox News never mentions Peter Doocy's earlier reporting about being jet lagged and how long this is and this being an overnighter, because that would interfere with their narrative. So, you know what? Look, I still believe that Joe Biden, even if he is Sleepy Joe, even if he is sort of out of it, would probably still beat Donald Trump. If Donald Trump's the general election nominee for the Republicans, that most Americans would rather have essentially a president who's not there than have a president like Donald Trump. But having said that, I do wish, and I think it would be a lot easier for Democrats to make that distinction with Republicans if in fact it was somebody else other than Joe Biden.
Yeah, you make a great point, and I echo another point. With all of these alleged negatives about President Biden, many people still rather prefer him over the extreme wrecking ball of a Donald Trump. And so they can wax poetic about Biden's mental decline if you compare him to the indictment-laden Trump. It is an interesting tale that Biden is still very competitive and likely wins that race, all things even. We shall see if Trump even makes it.